Jy is geskakel by die Groot Ontbyt, Groot FM 90.5, het geluister One Direction se Perfect en Rian het gesels met Slender Wonder en is twee Engelse onderhoude so op die televisie. Ons gaan weer so 'n bietjie British, nee, ons gaan British word so vir die volgende 10 minute. Ons gesels by die hoof besigheidsontwikkeling van die Jazzco Group en is Eckart Zollner. Second time you visiting us. Big welcome again.
Good morning, thank you.
Thanks for coming this early in the morning.
Sure.
And it's a heavy topic, you know, exciting about Africa. But first, before we get to what we're going to chat about, en dit gaan oor tegnologie, die vooruitgang, innovering, wat hulle sê, Afrika is die volgende China. Just a little bit of background about yourself and what do you specialize in?
Okay, good morning, thank you. So my parents really brought us out here following in the footsteps of my grandfather in about 1982. So I finished my schooling here, studied electronic engineering, telecommunications, and since the early 90s, I've worked in the field of mobile telecommunications.
So now they say that we are, like China, we can become the next China in terms of technology and especially mobile communication technologies. So what does it mean exactly?
Yeah, I think we have a huge opportunity, you know. We're in an emerging economy, you know, traditional economies, really they have fantastic infrastructure in terms of transport, they have a formal economy. Our economy is largely driven by the informal sector, by entrepreneurship, so we have to do things differently.
I remember when it was my first job, I worked in a cell phone shop. It's closed now, it was called Communication Station. And that was the time after the first contract, you had your first 2-year contract, and then all of a sudden after 5 years, people were sitting with these extra phones, and then they were selling the extra phones, and it became pay as you go. So it opened up a new market, and I think that's something that was very unique to Africa. And then I was a student when cell phones started, but it was a luxury thing. But within 5 years, a guy will have basically no food, but he'll have a cell phone. Is that the potential that people see in Africa in terms of communication?
Yeah, I think people have seen really the tremendous uptake we've had in mobile phones, just starting with telephony initially, you know. And now that we're going into the mobile broadband area, there's no reason why that can't happen again in the mobile broadband area. And with that come a huge amount of opportunities, huge amount of applications.
Yeah. There's a lot of people also thinking that we exploited. Africa's been exploited in terms of, if you just think mining, for years, the past 100 years. And then people are scared of something like China. You know, like the Chinese are taking over Africa. Where is the balance where people see the business opportunity to exploiting Africa?
Look, I think we always have to guard against being exploited. But there's nothing wrong with, for instance, being the first in the world to test certain concepts, certain ideas. And I think we've been very good at that. I think maybe coincidentally, you know, we don't have the luxury of affording lots of lengthy, expensive mistakes. So I think we're quite good in civil society, in industry. We're quite good. We squeeze out the pimple very quickly. We know something's going to work, something's not going to work. You know, we don't keep things artificially alive.
Surely Africa had to do something right for the global markets to say, listen, you have potential. What would you say that was?
Look, I mean, we've pioneered prepaid telephony globally in the mobile sector. You know, we've pioneered mobile finance transactions in Kenya, East Africa, globally. In West Africa, we used mobile technology in the health sector. You know, when Ebola broke out, you know, people got their information through their mobile phones. So we have huge, fantastic examples that really have made the world sit up and take note of ourselves, you know, of Africa. We have achievements like the square kilometer array that's now coming to Africa. Those are fantastic examples of what can be achieved. And I think the world is now saying, this is the continent that is ready to embrace the next era of innovation. On top of that, on average, we probably have the youngest population as a continent. You know, I think if you look at the statistics, our average age in Africa is just over 20, 21 or 22. So we've got this pent-up demand and pent-up potential.
Yes. What is the square? You mentioned something?
The square kilometer array.
Yeah, what is
the radio telescope.
Okay.
That's you know, going into space and on a global scale, you know, is going to be doing research that's never been done before anywhere in the world.
Do you think there's a global shift? Even if you look at India, Is it maybe cheaper trying certain new things in Africa than, let's say, America or Europe? Is that a factor playing a role?
I think not so much because it's cheaper, but because we have this amazing level of entrepreneurship in Africa. Wherever you go, you find amazing entrepreneurship because we have to. You know, as I said earlier, we have an informal economy just to survive. And we need to be innovative, we need to be entrepreneurial. And everybody sees that. So our ideas, our innovation is being used very quickly.
So the new thing that's for me very interesting is like deliveries using drones. Everyone is using drones. One of our producers got his license again last week. And it's like Amazon, DHL, Google delivery drones. Like in Rwanda, they're trying it out. So you order a book, and we're talking about books today. Is that a reality? Is it going to become a reality? And why they're trying it out in Rwanda?
Look, I mean, Rwanda has got some really big geographic challenges, and the infrastructure is not as good as it could be. So I think they decided to use it for deliveries in rural areas and remote villages. You know, I think it's a nice concept. I think it's a way away from becoming reality because it can face some other challenges like security problems. But I think in the field of innovation, there's many other areas. There are things like virtual reality, collaboration through virtual reality, remote medicine through robotic devices remotely controlled by expert surgeons, you know, in the health sector. In the education sector, we have great opportunities in terms of uplifting the population to an international level. So we're going to see. We don't know today what's going to be the next big thing, but we're not afraid to try it.
Eckart, I would like to know these advances which we have been mentioning now the whole morning, technological development, etc. Will they really penetrate to ground level and improve the lives of the general population?
Yeah, absolutely. They have already, and many people may not know this, but already since the early days of mobile communications, between the mid-90s and the early 2000s, when it was too expensive for people to own their own cell phones, we had mobile technology just offer access to telephones to hundreds and thousands of people in rural areas and remote areas. In East Africa, we have quite innovative information platforms informing people of commodity prices in the trading sector. You know, so we have a fantastic distribution mechanism that generally does find its way very quickly into the hands of the general public.
Do we have a platform for those that can't really afford technological developments? Would you say these developments will also enhance their lifestyle?
Technology allows us to collaborate quite easily, and that's what people do. Again, that's an example of the fantastic entrepreneurship we have. You know, people get together and maybe they're sharing one cell phone across 3 or 4 people and using the information and the access and the benefits of that cell phone for their own upliftment until everybody can afford something on their own.
Last question. How can SA potentially attract more investors in this growth?
So I think we have to be clear about our vision, and we have to formulate a strategy, and that is a multidisciplinary strategy across areas such as science and technology, trade and investment, education. We have to convince, I think, our skeptics internally, and then we have to go out. We have to tell a good story. We have a great story to tell. We have to tell it. Many people in the world still don't know the story, don't understand the story. So we have everything going for ourselves, and we need to do that.
Eckart, thank you so much. Henry, I'm sending you a partial this afternoon with a drone for your birthday. It was his birthday on Saturday. We forgot to...
Very good.
Yeah, so thank you for visiting us.
Thanks for having me.
Monday.
Thank you very much.
En dit was Eckart Zollner, hoof besigheidsontwikkeling van die Jazzco groep. Maar nou, Daniel van Zyl sit reg om te gesels met Prof Debra Meyer oor Afrikaans.com, en vir jou as luisteraar, hier is ons Mumford & Sons.